What's up? What's up? It's the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke. I'm Arthur Moats, and that's my main man, Deke.
What's up, dude?
Man, it was a great weekend, babe. We had football this weekend. I don't know about you. We talked about it. Was it 2 weeks ago? Our level of excitement. I was all the way in. I remember you was kind of like, I don't really know. We seen the social media temperature. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But showing up. Everybody was on the hype train. And if you weren't on the hype train, you came off as a hater. That's what it looked like. For those that weren't like all in on this thing, look like haters, baby. I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
Who, me?
No, man. I just check the temperature every once in a while, man.
I mean, I did come off as a hater. I definitely did.
Well, no. I'm not even going to talk about beforehand because beforehand, hey, you didn't know. It's cool. But you text me. Was like, yo, XFL look good.
Dude.
XFL got some guys. That's what you text me. I ain't text you. You text me.
No. You texted me they had some guys. I said XFL's looking nice.
You text me that first. That's what I'm saying.
I know it was.
Yeah.
Because the expectations were low. I was doing some work. I think I was working on our betting video. Or not the betting video, the odds video for the Steelers. And I just had it on in the background. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing some plays.
Oh, nice.
I'm seeing some plays out there. It's just making me peek up. You know, it was the first game, so Cardell Jones was playing, so that was kind of interesting. And be honest, that was the only name I really remember from that game.
Hey, that's all good, man. The fact that you remembered it says a lot more than what we saw from the AAF. Because you didn't remember any game in the AAF. You even said it yourself, man, I ain't really watched them games. I just looked at it to edit the things you had to edit. That was it. The fact that you remembered this lets me know it was impactful. But, man, overall, man, it was 4 games this weekend?
Yeah.
Had the Seattle versus DC. DC won that 31-19. LA versus Houston. Houston won that 37-17. Then Tampa, New York got at it. New York won 23-3. And then the big 5-star Sunday night matchup between Dallas and St. Louis. St. Louis pulled the upset. That's what they calling it. Because Dallas was the 9.5 point favorite. That's what they said, man. Dallas was the 9.5 point favorite, man. And St. Louis won 15-9, bro.
Wait.
What's up, man?
Big upset already.
That's what they're calling it. So look at it this way, right? If like put it this is the context.
Well, because Dallas is the team with Landry Jones, right?
They have all the studs, but Landry didn't play; he was injured. Yeah. But put it in context, right? If the Patriots were coming back 2 years ago after they just won the Super Bowl, right? They got all their stud players, all this stuff, and they got beat by the Browns when they had who was their quarterback? DeShone Kizer.
Yeah.
Like you'd have been like, whoa, that's crazy. That's the context they're putting it in.
How though? If Jones wasn't playing,
players,
but Jones wasn't playing,
they still were 9.5 because they didn't know. Like the team knew it was a potential that Jones wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
But the odds makers, similar to what they did for the Steelers in the Super Bowl odds this upcoming year at 15-1, they still had them as 9.5 point favorites.
Man, I think maybe we should start paying attention to this a little more because it might be like hockey where. You know, bettors aren't really all in on hockey, and some things can slide.
Nah, bro,
I mean, that's the perfect example. 9.5 point favorites.
Well, Steelers 15-1 odds to go to the Super Bowl next year.
I mean,
now it's I mean.
No, because these are game by game though.
I'm just saying, what's the difference?
Well, that's where you can find an advantage. I mean, right now, betting Steelers 15-1, you're trying to find advantages in the system. I don't know if that's necessarily an advantage. You're just betting on a team to win a Super Bowl.
If you took St. Louis though, right here, you would have been good.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
One should have started paying more attention to this.
Hey, man.
And hey, is Jones playing? Because I checked after the fact.
I was like, he was late to the game. He sprained his knee in practice, man.
Well, yeah, because I was like, I want to see how Jones did. I'm like, what, did he get cut already? I was looking through all the box scores.
He's the face of the XFL. Did he get cut already? What?
Hey, man, shit can happen.
Not at all, man. That's like saying the big get cut already.
But then I found out that, he was injured. But now you're telling me they were actually the favorites going into that game. Any person with a mind would have bet the other team then.
Hey, man, you never know. If you would have saw the dudes on the other team, you're like, I don't know. The other team's quarterback, for example, has never played a professional game. Never.
Is he a rookie then coming out of college?
No, this is second year out of college.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
So he was just sitting on the sidelines all last year.
So you're like, man, he's never played a professional game, never took a professional snap.
He's hungry. That's what that means.
Nah. And you would have put the money down too for the 9.5.
I don't know, but here's the thing. There's literally only probably 1 or 2, maybe 3 players tops per team that I recognize.
Okay, fair enough.
So like if there was at least 1 or 2 players that I recognized on that team,
I would say this, each team does have at least 3 to 4 players that you'll recognize. If we went down the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. So I might have put the money down. I don't know. Talk is cheap right now after the fact.
It is.
And how much money? It might have been $20. So like I'm talking right now like I'm this big gambler.
Man. But no, man, overall, man, I thought it was a really good weekend, man. I tuned in, obviously, to a couple of the games just because I wanted to see some of the former Steelers. From some of the guys, just to name off, we got Steven Johnson, linebacker here. He's playing as well. Terrence Garvin, obviously, played Steelers for, 5-6 years, I want to say, former teammate of mine. Landry Jones, who we talked about, didn't play injured. Eli Rogers, he was out there with Cordero, yep. But say, and I will say this, man, T. Garvin, man, he definitely balled out as well, man. So that was good. He was a part of the upset group with St. Louis.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, so man. And then
I saw Eli Rogers had a good game, and then I saw you're probably going to say Sammy Coates. He only had 20 yards. He had 9 targets. So
he was in the action. He was in the action, man.
That's all
and then for my JMU people, you see I got my JMU hat and shirt on. Mickey Matthews, that's my college coach. You know what I mean? National champion at JMU. He's out there coaching the linebackers, man. Andrew Ankra, he's an outside linebacker, pass rusher. He's out there doing his thing. And then Khalid Abdullah, man, is another guy from JMU, man. So just let everybody know, man, we got guys in every league, baby. But no, man, overall.
I remember you mentioning that name Anchor in the AAF last year.
Yeah, because he was out there with Terrence Garvin, and they were both making a lot of noise. In your words, it's the it factor. You know what I mean? When they got clutch time, they made it happen. Yeah, it got real it-ish.
You know what it is, yeah.
Yeah, man. All that good stuff, baby. Yes, indeed. But no, man, I was impressed by it, though, man. I thought my instant reaction after watching just the first game, I was like, you could see they did have talented players. That was my biggest concern was, what are these guys going to look like? Because you really never know. In terms of, they had some guys, like I said, that would step up that no one even really know about. You might have remembered them from college, but nothing really spectacular being done by them. So the fact that they were able to come out there and make impressive plays, I thought was really cool to see, man. It was good to see just like highlight plays. Some of the things that I really enjoyed the most, though, was number one, the speed of the game. The 25-second play clock kept it rapid fire. I never felt like it was a lull in the action where, you just kind of sitting around like, all right, commentator, talk. We don't have anything going on right now. Oh, now we're down to 20 seconds. Great. We never had to feel like that. I also loved on the defensive side of the ball, you're actually able to hit people. Man, it was some receivers getting absolutely mangled, and I loved it. And there was no flags. No. You can really hit. It reminded me of like 2010, 2008 type football. Like, that's what I wanted to see. Quarterbacks getting smashed, receivers getting their face knocked in. Like, thank you, XFL, for that. Then I also thought was really cool the replay thing, similar to what we saw in the AAF, where we were actually able to go inside of the review process and hear the communication, hear what they're saying. Whereas sometimes we talk about the NFL reviews, you're like, bro, what are they looking at? Like they're in there for 20 minutes and like, I don't understand. Like, how do you get this call wrong?
You get Dean Blandino coming in and they ask him, what do you think? I think this is going to be overturned. And then the call on the play or the call on the field is
it's confirmed. It stands. You're like, yo, what is going on?
You're just like, what the hell? Yeah. And then Blandino comes back in and says like, oh, they must have just been thinking this. I don't agree with the call. And it's just like, what the hell? And got Tony Romo and Nance in the booth just being like,
it's nuts.
What is going on?
It is nuts, man. And shout out to Al Riveron, man, because he's the corporate behind all of that, which is not good. But man, it was just good to see. Number one, they were getting the calls right. But number two, it wasn't an elongated process. It didn't take forever for them to get the right call. They went in there. We could see the whole process, see the angles that they're seeing. And then from there, the communication of, hey, man, so we're going to overturn it. The runner wasn't down. They fumbled after that. You can say however you want to say it. Like, I love that. I'm like, thank you. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty dope. And then the last thing I'll say is the kickoffs. The kickoffs were dope. Because I know people, especially you don't ever like talking special teams. You're like anti-special teams. Right. But as we see, each game that is always played, special teams always has a meaning, a factor, an impact. And it was good to see the way that they switched up the rules for kickoff, where the kicker is back by himself at the 35-yard line, I believe it is. Everybody else is down on the opposite 30-yard line. Yep. They kick the ball off. Nobody can move until the ball is caught. So it takes down the high impact collisions that lead to a lot of the concussions, a lot of the injuries that players sustain just throughout the course of their career, because special teams is just such a high intensity, high contact play.
Yep.
And then from there, the returners are more than likely going to return it now because they know they have some space. They know they have room to make stuff happen. And then it was just exciting to see the one-on-one guys trying to get off blocks, these returners showing their speed, showing their wiggle. So I thought that was a cool element. I did also like how they don't like the touchbacks. Touchbacks are penalized, man. So just seeing the strategy of like how you're going to kick this ball to make sure it's not a touchback, understanding.
Because the one game I watched, one of the kicks didn't make it past whatever it was, the 20 or the 25, and they got a flag for it.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool.
There's a little bit of strategy.
And one of the best players in that whole league, probably one of the most highly decorated players in that whole league, is a punter, Marquette King.
Yeah.
I'm about to say all pro with the Raiders,
man. Did you
see
that one?
I did, absolutely.
I didn't watch the game, but I saw the highlight on Twitter. Holy hell.
But see, I watch special teams, man. So that, like, he's been doing that, man. He always gets his little bob like this before he's about to kick that joint. We always call him like the swaggiest punter out, because all the other punters are just like super just straight and you got to be locked in. He's over that joint just dancing the whole time, catches that joint, bombs it. Yeah, man. So it was dope to see him back out there, man.
Stopped on a dime. That was crazy.
Yeah, so that was definitely dope, man. Yeah, man. But overall, I thought it was a great time. And I'm forgetting to talk about the interviews.
I was gonna bring that up.
The interviews were dope.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
As much as I think sometimes that, why are we even doing these interviews? It's just cliches. Just in general. No, I'm not necessarily saying in the XFL, but like NBA sideline reporters or whenever they come up to NFL coaches at halftime, I'm always like, man, they're just going to be like,
give you the cookie cutter answer.
Yeah, hey, we should have played better. You know, we got to stop the run. But when you're doing it how the XFL did it, you're probably still going to get that, but there's potential for a train wreck. There is cringeworthy / awkward moments.
Well,
and you can't look away. You can't look away.
We definitely saw that, man. Some of the guys cursing and they're like late to bleep, and I'm like, yes, that's an F-bomb. Let's go. And then I love the fact that like they're going up to these people. Either they've just did something really good,
exactly,
or they just did something really bad.
The really bad ones are the ones that you want to see.
Absolutely,
like the kicker missed it, and the reporter goes up to him and is asking him about missing the kick. Like, I can only imagine what's going through that kicker's mind right now, and you're getting it in real time. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, man, I love that element of it. I thought,
but then he made the one before halftime, so you go back.
It was a bomb.
It's almost like a real story being played out, because you're getting the insights throughout the whole game in live time. Pretty cool. Yeah,
man. I thought that was dope, man, to be able to see, like you said, the live time action of it, the instant emotions of missing a kick, then hitting a big kick. It's funny you talked about the kick. I thought special teams doesn't matter, man. But yeah, it does matter. And that's the thing that I was enjoying, man. And it was it was a 50? I think it was like
that was a bomb.
Yeah, it was like a 50-something yarder he hit before the half, which was like insane. I was like, okay, I see you, baby. And shout out to Pat McAfee, who's a special teams guy himself, doing some of these sideline interviews, man. So I definitely enjoyed that, man. Overall, I thought it was a highly successful weekend for the XFL. In terms of just your first impression of it, could it have been any better? I don't see how, man. I thought the games gave you the drama that you wanted, the scoring, the fact that they have, like, even when you're not going for two, you're technically going for two with how they do their extra points. You got a 1 point, 2 point, 3-pointer. And I think I have a 4-pointer as well, which is like super far back though. So
I didn't see the 4-pointer.
I want to say they did. Really? Man. I gotta check. Yeah. But I thought it was like just dope in terms of just how they could pick and choose. Because even if you were down, I want to say if you were down like 13 or 14 points, they said, no. If you were down, I forgot what they were saying, but it was still technically like in the NFL, it would have been like a 2-score game. Yeah. They were like, you can get this ball back right now on a touchdown and going for like whatever they like their most. I want to say it was like, it's a 4-point, I want to say it was, but it would be like super far back. And you get that and you're right back in the game.
Okay.
And I thought that was the cool part. And then also the way the clock was set up, with it being a 25-second clock, most time in the NFL, with it being a 40-second clock, as soon as you get into 2 minutes, if you don't have any timeouts, the game is essentially over. You can just nail the ball out.
True.
The 25-second clock wouldn't allow. You'd have to get it under a minute before you can start doing that. And I thought that was cool because it made the other team still have to play. It made the other team still have to go through and try to execute. And it got interesting in the one game I was watching, the St. Louis and Dallas game, actually, because they couldn't get the clock to run out, and then they had to kick it back, and then the backup quarterback, Landry's backup, ends up throwing a pick to end it. But
he didn't have the it factor.
Oh man, none of them guys had it outside of Landry, man.
Dude, but outside of all that, even when you bring up the opening weekend effect, could they have had a better opening? I don't think so, just from the standpoint of all the positive buzz, because I only watched the first game. That was the only game that I had on. Like I said, I had it in the background. But if you look on social media, and then you're seeing even articles about the ratings,
absolutely,
they got like 3 or 4 million people. Yeah. They had really good ratings. But then all the videos they have on social media, they're hitting hundreds of thousands of views. You go on YouTube and just look up XFL highlights. So that is a win just in and of itself.
Come on, bro. We're leading off the podcast talking about XFL football, man. Yeah. You know we don't just lead off with anything. if it's Restart Podcast, then you know it's legit. You know what I mean? So yeah. But man, when you were right though about the viewership or whatever, for context, they said the AAF last year, they opening weekend was 2.3 million viewers. This one, XFL opening weekend, had 3.3 million viewers. So that was huge. Network wise, obviously they were playing on ABC, Fox, ESPN. So they had all of the major network TV covered. And then to take it a step further, when they talked about average attendance for these games, they were having 17,800, whereas average attendance for a Pirates game, they were saying like just tickets sold, not sure if these are actually like bodies in chairs, but it was 18,000 per game. So to put it in context, they're right there with a daggone major league team for opening week of a league that no one even really knows is going to be successful or not. So I thought that was really good as well.
I mean, that could be a commentary on the state of baseball too.
Hey man, you call it what you want to call it. AAF wasn't doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying that baseball, they got some problems.
Hey man, one's a major league team. That's all I'm saying, man.
At least the Pirates. Man. I mean, because you could be talking Yankees, Red Sox. I'm sure even the Cubs. I'm sure the atmosphere is different at those games.
But they're not just picking one game. They're saying just average attendance overall.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about an average, it could be a big time game where you get a Yankees team coming in where you know people are going to go to that game, or it could be a Tuesday 1:00 game versus the Reds, and you're like, I ain't going to that.
So next week, maybe the numbers could drop for the XFL, but I'm assuming the schedule is going to flip to whatever team was away is going to be home now.
Right, so that's going to be different probably. Yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll see if they could keep it up. I'm hoping so, just because just another thing to talk about, just more buzz. I like football. Maybe some of these dudes can make it back to the NFL.
Yeah. Or some of these dudes could just be superstars at the XFL as well, man.
That is the other interesting way you could take it.
Because I remember it was a conversation that was had once Landry signed to go to the XFL, and he was their first quarterback. The franchise,
quarterbacks are making bank compared to everyone else.
Exactly. So literally, he was the first guy signed. He's the face of the XFL. Landry Jones is right, the face of it. They signed him. He's on all the promotions. You hear about how they talk about him. Man, well, when Landry comes back, he's their guy. He changed the whole dynamic of this team. Landry Jones, they're talking about, right? And during the season, when Mason had got hurt and Duck was going through his little phase, they were like, man, we should go try to sign Landry back. And I'm saying to myself, like, if I'm Landry, why the heck would I want to come back to compete with Duck when you already know it's 50-50 how they going to do it, where you're the face of an entire XFL league? You are the Tom Brady. You are the Ben Roethlisberger. You are the Drew Brees there. Why would you want to come back to play second, third fiddle with this guy?
Well, did you read that article? I think it was on ESPN, but after he was done playing with the Steelers, I don't know if he got offers elsewhere, but he just kind of wanted to start a life doing something else.
Yeah, he was doing like construction or something.
He got into construction. Yeah. He didn't like just sitting around and not knowing and only getting his chance potentially if someone got injured. So did that, and then news of the XFL pops up, and he was all in. So it goes hand in hand with what you're saying. I don't think he would have liked to come back into this situation and then, all right, he gets some starts for the rest of the season, but then what happens next year?
Because you already know next year is going to be Ben and Mason. Those are their guys.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want people to just assume that because it's the NFL, everybody's, I got to get back there, because not everybody in that league is going to be wanting to get back there. Where I've even talked to guys in the CFL, same concept. They can go up in the CFL. By the time you get some years in there, you're making six figures and you're a bona fide star. They are selling your jerseys at Foot Locker up there. You come here to America to play in the NFL, and you at best a fifth or sixth rotational guy, maybe practice squad. Nah, I'm cool on that. I'm gonna go over here and be the star. So just understand that, man. So,
well, speaking of the numbers, the quarterbacks are making over 400,000, and then the rest of the players
like 60. It's around like 60 grand. That's what I was saying.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's on a game by game basis, right. But it'll probably total around 60. Yeah.
And I think
that's crazy.
It's what 10, I forgot. It's 8. No, it's 8 teams. Yeah, so literally you could play up to like 10 or something like that until the total in terms of total games with playoffs and stuff like that. So it's still good money for a short amount of time.
It definitely is. No. I gotta figure it's gonna start getting restructured at some point. If you start getting like a star receiver, or some star linebackers,
it definitely will. This is just the year one model. Year one model, you understand, what do I need? I need quarterbacks for this league to go.
Yeah.
I need the executives. That's what they bring in Oliver Luck, who ran the NCAA for years. That helps make sure we got it going. I need money. Vince McMahon backing himself. We talked about that. That gives the cash. That's what the AAF did not have. They didn't have the TV deals either. So all of that stuff is structured in place. Then from there, it's like, okay, what's a decent amount of money that the guys that I'm targeting will come and play for? It's different if you're trying to get starters or second depth level NFL players, because they're not gonna they're not gonna take 60 grand to play in that league. But for the guys that they're targeting, guys who were special teamers, guys who were active, inactive on game day types in the NFL, guys who might be on a roster, might not be on a roster throughout the season. Well, when you're targeting them and you're saying, hey, look, man, for 10 weeks, I'll get you 60K. But, if it works out, you're also going to get bonuses, game bonuses, which they talk about. And then on top of that, it's like, hey, man, this thing goes where it's supposed to go. Year 2, we'll bump it up. Year 3, we'll bump it up, which they already have in place where the money will increase for these guys. So when you look at all those things from a structure standpoint to start out, I thought it was like a great business model to go with it. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's like, man, when you get that type of structure, you got the money to back it like that. That's intriguing to a lot of those players in that league, man.
Yeah.
A lot of them players, man.
What's funny is, how much do you remember the first XFL?
I remember a good amount of it.
So I watched the
super
30,
gimmicky.
I watched the 30 for 30, and to see how it was the opening weekend this time around versus what it was then, it is like completely different.
Yeah.
It was so, like you said, so gimmicky. Everything that was promised about this league was done a year in advance, but nothing was set up at all. None of the TV deals. They didn't have players. None of it. They had no clue for anything. And it's just so much different this time around. And you mentioned the big hits. That's something they promised so much in the first rendition of it, but it came out where they overpromised, underdelivered. In this one, there's really not much talk about it, but you're talking about the hits where it's like, all right. Because
you start seeing it, you're like, man, I remember I'm looking on social media, some of the cats that I've played with at different teams, and they're like, bro, I'd have got fined $60K for that hit right there. Instead, this guy's going viral for his hit. Like, but you just got to love that, man. But the biggest difference was, I think, two things. The first time going around, money situation wise, McMahon didn't back it himself. He had partners in it. So money wise, right. So they didn't get to do what they were trying to accomplish in terms of make sure the league was going to stay floating, staying committed to getting a long-term deal done. Secondly, it reminded me of if McMahon was just trying to put WWF/WWE on the football field, on network television. And it's an acquired taste, let's be real about it. When you watch wrestling, some of the way the guys act, the heels versus the superstars and things like that, like, it's an acquired taste. Not everybody is, oh man, I want my kids seeing this, or I don't want my kids seeing that. So he took that type of model and put it on the field with the cheerleaders, with the crazy names. Honestly, and
dude, it was fun. Like, looking back on some of the stuff they were trying to pull, like, it was hilarious.
It's like, you can't do that. not if you want to be taken seriously.
No,
like,
exactly.
Wrestling is totally different in the sports and football field.
Yeah,
man.
It was towing the line for sure. It was just in between both, and it just doesn't make sense. You got to be all in one or all in the other.
Yeah. So in turn, this time around, they made it strictly football, but who did they bring in to do that? Oliver Luck, a guy who's had so much success at the NCAA level running that. So that's why, from a structure standpoint, it looked as smooth as it looked. Understanding you got to get these type of players first. Understanding, okay, we got to make sure from a game speed, a game style, what are some of the things that people love about the NFL? What are some of the things that people critique the NFL on. Number one, you love what quarterback play, so he understands I got to get quarterbacks. Number two, the thing that we all hate are what? How sometimes with the referees on these challenges, we don't know what's going on. Okay, how can we adjust that? Let's fix that. We talk about when you watch an NFL game, that's a 3.5 to 4 hour commitment. You're like, yo, I really got to like have nothing going on for this to go on. Okay, we'll speed the game up. Shorten that play clock now, man. Get it rapid fire. We good to go. People like those type of things. So I thought just Oliver's mindset in terms of how he structured the XFL, I thought that was dope because nobody was thinking of it. Everybody was just kind of like, hey, man, the NFL is NFL. Like, that's how it goes. But he did a good job in terms of taking good and bad from the NFL, taking some of the things from the AAF in terms of what the review process and how they started doing that as well, and then making it their own little baby. And that's how you get the product you get for week one. And like I said, man, I thought it was just an awesome opening weekend. It has me intrigued to go watch next weekend.
Yeah, it'll probably be the same case for me, to be honest with you. Like, I'll be doing something on my computer. Well, it'll be on in the background.
I was going to say, we don't even, I don't gauge it off of you because unless it's the Steelers playing, you don't even watch any other team.
Oh, come on.
Oh, we already talked about this, man. We talked about this, bro.
What do you mean?
You are Steelers first.
No.
Then you watch Brady.
No, come on, man.
You got a socks head on right now.
No.
Don't try to turn it backwards. You try to be slick, turning it backwards.
Anyone, I'll turn it forward.
Hey.
Anyone that watches
you watch Steelers first.
Come on, dude. I can't.
Brady second.
I can't let you do that. Anyone that listens to us and knows us that I randomly have a Boston Red Sox. That is completely random.
It's not random.
Like the look of it.
You said Tom Brady is the number 2 all-time quarterback besides Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep, number 2.
So
I watch other games, dude. What do you mean? Come on. I can't believe you just threw that out there like that. I might have an angle when I'm watching them. I might have an angle.
Or on Brady.
No, what do you mean?
I'm messing with you.
Wait, dude, come on. Because, dude, I mean, just think of all the text I'm giving you.
Why you getting defensive, man?
I'm just saying,
Why you getting defensive, man?
I like football.
Why you getting defensive? I know you like football. You ain't got to tell. Hey, you get real defensive in here. Your face get all red nowadays. Let's go. Score one for the good guys.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
But oh man, I
feel like I do gotta defend myself. So
I don't know why,
shots are being thrown like
You're
that.
You're just you, man. Be Deke, man. Deke, don't get flustered.
Sometimes.
What up, man? Because I ain't gonna sit here now like I watched all 4. I watched 2 of them. Like,
yeah,
I watched the opening game. That was the first one that we all watched, and then I watched the St. Louis and Dallas game just because I got good relationships with both guys on both of those teams, and that was my biggest thing. Other than that, I was like, I catch the other games when I can.
For me saying that though, that is a step up from the AAF. At least I got it on in the background.
Yeah,
how about that?
I was like, because the AAF, it was like if it wasn't like a particular player that I knew was playing, and another thing too was their schedule was wackier. In terms of, remember, they weren't just playing a consistent Saturday, Sunday. They had like weird, like it was like a Thursday game, I thought it was one time. Like it was just kind of all over the place. And you never knew what channel was going to be on because the TV deals weren't in place. So they would switch up the games. It made it a little more difficult. Whereas with this, you can look on their website right now and you know for a fact these games are airing on these days, on this channel, at this time. There's no confusion. I even think from a marketing standpoint, they've, like you said, from social media, they found a way to take over social media.
Yeah.
Literally from the time the Super Bowl ended, they've been pumping XFL. And then all weekend, if you got on social media, you were seeing XFL. So I thought they did a great job with their social media presence, similar to how the NFL does with their social media presence in terms of making sure it's constantly out there and being talked about. For some reason, I don't remember the AAF being like that. Do you? I don't remember them ever dominating a day where I was like, man, and with XFL, it wasn't just
maybe
one day.
Thousands of views, not hundreds of thousands.
Right. And with the XFL, it was literally Saturday, Sunday. All we saw was XFL. That was the talk, highlights, all of that. Even how they vote for their player of the week. It was like, yo, right here on social media, right here on Twitter, you click the person that you want to get player of the week. Like, I was like, yo, that's pretty dope. And Shout out to the kids in St. I call them kids because I'm a little older, but shout out to the boys in St. Louis, man. They celebrated their win, double fisting beers in the locker room. I thought that was epic.
Are we sure they were beers? They might have been White Claws or something.
Nah, man, they look like beers from what I saw. I thought it was like Natty Lights, man.
All right,
that's
cool.
It was a Natty Light box from what I saw, man.
Even though I got no room to talk, man. I was drinking Bud Light seltzers a couple weeks ago, man. Wow.
You might as well drink a White Claw.
Exactly.
God,
I mean, that's happened before too. So I really have no room. You know how I am. Jeez. I rip on something, then do it still.
Wow. White Claws and Trulies. That's what you're on, man.
It's questionable. Yes.
Yeah, very much
questionable.
But yeah, man, they were double fisting Natty Lights. I thought that was dope because in NFL, boy, let us be post game with any type of alcoholic beverage and cameras around. We're gonna get you a nice little FedEx come Wednesday morning. Pop. Yeah. But no, I thought they overall, man, I thought it was just a dope time. And like I said, I'm excited to see how they follow up this week. Mm-hmm. Because from a player standpoint, they're going to have, like I said, a guy like Landry Jones, who's the face of the XFL, coming back next week. They're going to have guys who made big time, who played really well. Think about Cardell Jones. Like, he's the guy that we knew from Ohio State, never really did anything in the NFL, but he had a good showing. So you're going to see, okay, how can some of these guys continue to emerge? How can some of these guys potentially become more of the household names during this time of year? Because the fact that there's no other football on, if you're not a diehard basketball fan or a hockey fan, because baseball, you got spring training about to start up. Yeah. But NCAA, like, if you're not diehard on all those, and you just want to watch football, which, I mean, we talk about football as American sport. Everybody loves football. And then you got the secondary sports, but football is the bread and butter. Yep. So if you're a diehard football guy, you're watching. So this is giving these guys opportunity to be seen. It's refreshing some of the guys. Remember Eli Rogers? Like I said, he had success here in Pittsburgh. Got hurt, didn't get to come back this past year. They took Ryan Switzer over him. So seeing him get back out there and produce, it's like, man, now so you just shook your head because you're like, dang, dude, idea. Like, man, we should have kept him. He could have played. Like, that conversation is going to be happening again as this thing goes on.
I mean, even him over. I mean, you said Switzer, that's the clear one, but then Johnny Holton as well. I mean, come on, come on.
Well, and that's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is gonna give these guys, number one, a chance to get some dope film out there. Number two, they're gonna get back in the conversation because now awareness is going back up on these players. You know the saying, out of sight, out of mind. If he's not in this league, Eli Rogers, the guy we're talking about, if he's not in this league right now, we're not even thinking about him. Like, unless we really dive deep into, okay, well, who did Switzer and Holton beat out for that spot? If we're not going down there, we're not even talking about Eli, but because we just saw him produce in a game, you're like, dang, dude, he could have still been helping us out right now. Is he available next year? Like,
because we saw how the season played out.
Right. So I think that is another huge benefit for this league and for these players. And like I said, man, you're still getting money in his pocket. Otherwise, you're just sitting around just training. Training is cool, but you don't get paid to train. Unless you're a bodybuilder, which those guys are not.
True.
So now it's like, okay, well, you're at least going to get you a cool $60K. You know what I mean? And depending on if you got any bonuses or stuff like that, I'm not sure like exactly how their contracts are structured in terms of performance bonuses, making the playoffs and things like that. But I'm sure stuff like that in those contracts. So that's extra money that these dudes would not have had any other way. They would have to go get a regular 9-to-5 job to pay for these bills, to pay for the training, to support their families. So for me, I thought that was a cool thing to see in that regard as well, man.
100%. It's going to take one thing for me to probably start to get all in and look forward to seeing games and lock in and watch a game. And it's going to have to be someone like Manziel. It's going to have to be someone like Trevor Lawrence that they bring in. But as of right now, my interest is at least peaked.
So I got a question. I don't mind the Trevor Lawrence thing because I do think, and I don't think it'll be him just because of the structure, but I can see it. We talked about this. We talked about this model too
in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, we talked about the model of the guys that have success their first year in college football, but because the NCAA restrictions, they have to continue to play at the NCAA level. And potentially seeing one or two of those star players like that say, I'm not going to play 2 years for free at the NCAA level and still take the same injury risk. I'm going to go ahead and play XFL for 2 years, get paid to take those risks, still get footage out there, and then go to the draft that way. We talked about that, and I do think that's something that could potentially happen. I just don't see it happening year one. I think it's a year 2, year 3 thing once the league has shown stability.
Right.
Because right now it's just like, it was a great intro, but you got to do it over the course, which is what makes the NFL so unique. They have done it for years. So if they can show year one that there's a proven model, and then year two, oh, it's still a proven model, it's gonna float, we're good. Well, I definitely think that that'll be something that we'll start to see in terms of some of those.
I'm just waiting for the first one, because it's almost like Zion playing at Duke. You know he's NBA bound, but you just want to see beforehand, see what the hype's all about.
Imagine too, because this is what they do in baseball, right? In baseball, you can either go right to the majors out of high school, or you have to go to college for 3 years. So imagine if for Zion, they say, hey, if you don't go straight to the NBA out of high school, you got to go to Duke for 3 years. And you know Duke's going to make millions of dollars off of you. Okay, I'm going to play this 1 year. Then after that, I'm going to go play overseas for 2 years, get paid, get my body used to being professional, having it on a schedule, doing all these things. And then I'm going to hop into the league after that. Like, that's what this XFL could potentially become. But first off, they got to show that they can sustain it.
There could be an argument. This is probably a different discussion, that Duke, him being at Duke, helped him make money in his rookie deal. First year in the NBA with branding, endorsements.
Zion was Zion regardless. Zion could have went to Zion could have went to Duquesne.
Like
he was still going to sign a Jordan deal.
But like you said, with out of sight, out of mind. If he would have went overseas, he could have done something here.
This is my
might have been better.
This is my thing though. If you're that talented, you really think Nike, Reebok, Jordan are going to pass on the opportunity to endorse?
No, they're not going to pass. I'm just saying the money. He might have made a little bit more money.
All I'm saying is this, man. We're talking a difference of what? That's the question.
I don't know.
How much of the difference would it have been versus how much of the risk he would have taken for free at Duke?
I'm just thinking of dudes like, let's say, Brandon Jennings.
Yeah.
Instead of going to Arizona, he went overseas.
Okay.
He ended up being the 8th pick. What was his endorsement deals? Coming out.
Since this though, he still made how much money playing overseas versus if he would have stayed at Arizona and got hurt, then what would have happened?
I don't know. That's what I mean. Yeah. Could it be a $5 to $10 or $5 to $10 million difference in the endorsement deal versus him only making a couple million overseas?
All I'm simply saying is this: you take that risk for free and you get hurt, you crap all the way out. You sit here, no endorsement deals, no NBA deals, and no money. You go overseas, you're getting paid. Take that same risk. That's all I'm saying, man.
I'm with you.
Like it's different. I feel like when we just talking from like us as fans, like when we just looking at it like, oh man, well, dude, you were gonna make more money to stay here. Same conversation we had with Le'Veon, right? In terms of you play that last year on the franchise deal again, oh, you're guaranteed the 14 mil. If you get hurt though, you're gonna be crapped out next year when you're trying to get a deal done. We talked about that, and then what he decided to do was sit out that year. Remember, sit out and not take the 14, but then he gets the deal that he was comfortable with the Jets, with more of the guaranteed money, more of a long-term deal. So in that regard, I look at it the same way of, hey, if it works out, great, but your odds drastically decrease in terms of them being favorable for you when you keep playing for free, when you keep taking those chances for free.
That's why that's why they call it one and done.
Yeah.
Try to get in and get out.
In the NCAA, you can get away with that. And for football, though, they don't allow that. I mean, for basketball, NBA, you got the one and done rule, which is beneficial. NFL, they don't have that. You got to be 3 years removed from high school. That's the difference.
And in the NBA, it might be a little different just because those injuries don't really affect draft stock.
Right, because most of the time, like
Kyrie, he
had a foot, but we're talking like because football is more of a contact sport. Your likelihood of getting injured is drastically increased, whereas basketball, unless it's something freaky, even Kyrie's was a freaky foot injury.
Right.
Think Sean Livingston with the Clippers where he blew his knee out. Like, it's not very often you see those type of injuries happen. Whereas in football, I mean, shoot, anytime you watch a game, somebody's getting hurt. Like, we all know that. Somebody's getting hurt. Like, it just is what it is. So I think that's the biggest difference between the two, which is why I say for football, NCAA football, I can see that happening more often in terms of guys potentially going to the XFL if the league works, because you're going to take the same injury risk. The injury risk for playing football is drastically different than basketball.
More fluky.
Right.
Paul George, the USA thing.
It's fluky. Whereas in football, we've seen Willis McGahee. We've seen him get his knee absolutely destroyed. Shout out to Will Allen. He was the one who did that too. That's my dog. I ain't like him at the time, but now that it's my dog, I'm like, all right, it's all up. But it's like we can go down the list of players that we've seen get just devastating injuries. Every year we see it. Mm-hmm. If you're still going to be taking those same injury risks, why not get compensated for it?
I'm definitely with you. Definitely with you. I guess the question is with the whole Zion and Duke thing, or you could say any player in any college, is they are making that decision to be one and done for some reason, as opposed to going overseas.
But you do get that freedom of being one, and that's why I think basketball
100%. Well, dude, it's going to be done anyway in a couple years, and I think it's 2021 or 2022.
Yeah, just go right back out of high school, which is fine. Yeah. I just think like for football wise, because the rule is you have to be 3 years removed from high school.
No, definitely.
Even though we're trying to draw the comparisons, bringing up a Zion, it's still apples to oranges just because the rule structure is different.
No, I'm definitely with you because just going through the conversation, that kind of cleared it up because it is completely different, and you could be staying there for 2 to 3 years, making money and facing competition that's going to probably be way similar
better,
than what you're facing in college football.
You say similar. I think that XFL competition is probably going to be better because when you look at these rosters, 85 to 90% of these guys have played in the NFL.
And if we're studs in college football.
Right. So
already.
So regardless of you go down any SEC, you want to say Bama or Clemson, Bama and Clemson, when they play, right, out of their 22 stars, we'll say maybe on a good year, 12 to 15 of those guys total are NFL caliber, not even first round picks, just NFL caliber players. Whereas on this XFL roster, if it's 50 guys, 40 of them are NFL caliber players. 40 of these guys have been in NFL locker rooms. So you see the difference in talent right there. And as for me, I'm like, man, shoot, you're going to get paid and go against better competition. To me, it's a no-brainer in that regard. But it only works if this league stays afloat and proves that it can work. And you have already had to have put out a dope year of college football to show that you can be a guy.
I was going to ask you that because isn't there something to be said for going to college football and developing versus going to the XFL and just not being ready? That could screw you too.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think this is something that you just leave right out of high school and go XFL because you're not going to be ready. We talk about all the time the reason why you can't go high school to the pros is because your body just is not developed at 18, 19 years old. I know grown men that'll kill a 19-year-old if he was on that football field. These dudes 30 plus, like, hey, you catch me 25 to 35 in the NFL, man, they could potentially kill a kid. And that's something that you got to be cognizant of if you were trying to make that jump, which is why I do think going to college for that first year is huge in terms of your development. It's huge in terms of understanding how to adjust to that level of play, understanding how to adjust mentally. Because high school to college from a football standpoint is drastically different. The speed, the commitment, the dieting, all those things. Now, I do think the XFL helps them a ton, but the XFL season is shorter. So you're not even going to get the full gamut. But the flip side is you're doing it professionally. So you're only committed to football. You don't have to worry about, I got an 8 a.m. class. I got a test coming up at this time. I got to go do this at that time. And then I got to practice. Oh, and it's a limit on how much we can practice on. It's a limit on how much we can meet. It's a limit on how much this or that. That's stuff you got to do it in college. Whereas professionally, you don't have those restrictions on you. You're able to just fully focus on football. Oh, and you don't have to worry about getting suspended for, hey, man, coach, I'm hungry. Can I get somebody to get something to eat? Oh, we got a contract for you here. We could pay you. Now you can go get whatever you want to get to eat. That's another thing that's not talked about enough. So I do think in that regard, the XFL is intriguing, but
and you could sell yourself, you could sell your brand and everything.
Absolutely. You could become a bigger brand as you want.
You could make more money outside of football potentially.
It's all there for you.
Yeah.
So that's why for me, I'm like the XFL, the only way that works if it shows year one that it can continue to have a quality product. Year two, it can show that it is a legit league and will stay afloat. Then after that, I think year three is when you start getting those guys that potentially will go. I don't see it happen in year two just because you don't know if it's a flash in the pan, if it's a one and done. You just don't really know. Yeah, but I'm excited though, man.
Yeah. I am too. Just like I said, I'll have it on in the background, but it's piqued my interest. Yeah. So
and back in what you were saying too about a Manziel type going over there.
I was gonna say you said you had a question for me.
So
thought it had something to do with him.
Manziel, then. So you just care because of the name?
Yeah.
Not even about the quality, just the name.
I mean,
I'm just asking.
Don't you think he's better than some of those dudes?
I'm just asking a question.
It's been a while, though. It has been a while.
I'm just asking a question. Because we've had this conversation in terms of names versus productivity. We've had that conversation before.
Just let us see it.
I'm just asking a question, man.
So if I'm the XFL, if I'm Oliver Luck, this is the strategy. So year one, let it be how it is right now.
Okay.
Year two is when you bring Manziel in, get the hype going a little more, and then.
But has it not proven that it doesn't even need that hype?
Probably not. But
because when we looked at the AAF, remember Manziel did go to the AAF, and that did not turn out good. And it wasn't as if, he signed and it was some big, oh my God, Manziel's playing for the Birmingham Barons or whatever their name is. Let's go tune in. Nobody cared.
I was tuning in, man.
Nobody cared. You and probably 50 other people. Nobody else cared. Because it was exactly what we already knew it was going to be when we watched them play. Was it not? It looked exactly what we thought it was.
I mean, yeah, I want it for the name, dude. Yeah. I want it for the name.
Yeah, for me, I like Oliver Luck's approach because he's not just going for names. He was making sure, like, yo, first off, we got legit dudes who are not going to potentially bring any negativity to the organization or to the overall outlook of this league, which was positive. But, yeah, they're making sure that they're not just chasing after a name because...
You wouldn't be tuning in.
For Manziel, no. But it's different for me. Like, Manziel isn't, like, I don't look at him like, oh my God, it's Johnny Manziel, it's Johnny Football. Like, I've played against Manziel. I know what Manziel is.
You're the one that ripped his helmet off. Right?
Yeah, so I was like, I know what it is. I've sacked him multiple times. I played against multiple times. I'm undefeated versus Manziel. For me, man, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Thumbs up. But for you, it might be different.
Yeah, I mean, the Johnny Legend, the Johnny Football thing that happened
was cool in
college. Yeah.
This ain't college, man. We talk about this all the time. Talk about it all the time, man. We could go down the list of, man, this dude was dope in college. You get to the league and it's like, whoa. I mean, shoot, Landry Jones, for example. Landry Jones was a dog at Oklahoma. NFL, we're not saying that he was trash, but he was just an average backup type quarterback. He was never going to be a franchise guy.
You can name a lot of dudes. Yep.
Yeah. So for me, that's why I always say it's different. Like, after playing at that level, you don't see them. Like, we don't care what you did in college because it's like, yo, I could watch a college game and even the best of the best college teams at max case, best case scenario, 15 NFL players, not even 15 NFL starters, not 15 draft picks. We're just saying 15 NFL players. And this is the Alabamas, the Clemsons. But I already know once they get there, out of those 15, maybe 3 of these guys are going to be guys. The rest of them are going to be, all right, is he on the roster? Is he not on the roster? Oh, is he practice squad type? He's not practice squad type. Oh, he might flash in the pan a little bit, but he's not going to be good like that. So for me, I never really get caught up in the, oh my God, this dude was, hey man, he was the man in college. Golly, look at this guy go. Oh wait, yeah. He was all conference. He was all SEC. He was all American. Shoot, Scooby Wright, for example, man. And Scooby's a good dude, man. Linebacker out of Arizona. He had one of the, let's see, was it,
I don't even recognize the name.
Exactly. And this is what I'm gonna tell you though. So he literally won the Nagurski Award for the best like defensive player. He won the best linebacker award. He had the highest voting total for defender in his Heisman, like in the year that he was in for the Heisman. Like just absolute animal. Got hurt. But then after that, literally he has bounced around a couple NFL teams. Maybe had like 1 year where he like played for a full season. He's in the XFL as well right now. But it's like, man, you watched him in college and you're like, yo, this dude is an absolute animal. I mean, this is like the second coming of Deke Buckus right here, man. Then you get to the league and it's like, it's not there, man. It's average at best. Mm-hmm. So that's why for me, I was like, I never really cared what you do in college, man. Because then the flip side, I've seen guys who were just guys in college, right? Never got the Heisman accolades, never got the being talked about all the time. They come in the league and absolutely are studs. They come in and take over.
I mean, most of the dudes in the NFL.
Yeah,
really,
absolutely. So that's why for me, I'm like, I don't get caught up in the, oh my God, this dude was a name in college, man. He was a guy in college. Like, okay, cool.
Understandable.
I mean, if that's the case, we should start JT Barrett next year because he was a guy at Ohio State, was he not?
Nah.
He was. Was he not a guy? He was a dog at Ohio State.
We're talking pros.
For multiple years.
We're talking pros.
Oh, though. So now you flip-flop the argument.
I don't want Manziel on the Steelers.
Oh, man. He's a name, though.
I mean, maybe over Mason, to be honest with you.
See, it's the nonsense I'm talking about right here.
No, definitely over Duck. Probably not Mason.
This is the nonsense I'm talking about right here.
He had a decent run for the Browns, but he just got caught up in some things off the field.
Decent run for the Browns. He did? Was decent.
Some flashy plays here or there.
Oh, God.
Some hit factor plays, as you would call it.
Oh, God. As I would call it. Oh, God. You're funny, man.
But yeah, I guess enough of Manziel then. It's not happening.
Yeah,
but
I'm cool.
You were curious as to why I would want it, and yeah, it's just the name.
All right, well, hey, as long as we understand, I figured it was.
It's as simple as that. And we talked about I would like Kaepernick too, but we mentioned this before. I don't think the money would be there for him.
Yeah, it's like for certain players, once you've reached a certain amount of money, regardless of how much you love football, you're not gonna play for that. I mean, you're talking about a guy in terms of Colin Kaepernick who was making double-digit millions, 10+ millions per season.
He could overtake Jones as the face of the XFL, though, if he wanted.
If he came back to the NFL, he would take a lot of guys just off the name alone. Not saying talent-wise, just off his name.
I agree.
So it's not even that. But the thing what we're talking about is like just from, like I said, a money standpoint, the amount of money some of these guys have made, it's not worth the risk. I mean, it's guys that won't even take less. So put it like this. You could offer some guys a couple of $1 million for the NFL. And they're like, I don't want to take that risk. I'm done. I don't want to take that money. So you're going to ask a guy to take drastically less than that to go to the XFL? Nah, that ain't how it works, man. When you get to that point where you've made enough money where you're just like, bro, that doesn't move the needle for me. Like, I'm cool.
Understandable. Yeah. Understandable.
It's a good feeling to be in. It's a good position. I'll tell you that, man. Really good position.
I'm sure it is, man. I'm sure it is. Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah, yes, indeed, man. Yes,
all right,
indeed.
So what do we got next?
Man, so actually, you speaking about Manziel, got me thinking about the Steelers anyways. And in terms of somehow just, you talk about like the league as a whole, right? It's filled with just guys who weren't necessarily studs, star players, but it's all about how you find those guys. And perfect guy to talk about and transition to is Kevin Colbert. He just signed his extension with the Steelers. Mm-hmm. This will keep him with the Steelers till 2021. So that's huge in terms of, we already know that he's on a year-to-year basis, and this is because this is what he said he wanted to do. And I thought that it was dope to see just how him and Mr. Rooney have been able to seamlessly go through this situation like this. You don't really see a lot of times where a GM and owner have that type of relationship where they're able to say, well, you know what, I don't want to sign a long-term deal right now because I just don't know how much longer I want to do this. So just seeing how they're able to have that communication and ultimately get deals done at good times too. It's not as if, Colbert is waiting until June or July to be like, I don't know, guys. Like, no, he's going to do it done early. So even if he were to change his mind, or not change his mind, but if he were to say, hey, I don't want to go on after this season, they still have time to get the replacements needed to get to the combine, to get to the draft, to handle all the other things. So I thought that was huge, man. So it was definitely good to see that happen, man. And we already know how much talent he's responsible for, not only through the draft, but through free agency, trade market, all the things, all the players that he's been able to acquire, all the talent that he's been able to acquire through the Steelers organization throughout his 20+ years of being here now. I mean, he's one of the best to do it.
Yeah, we don't have to go down the list, but just as of late, I mean, the Minka trade, the last draft, getting Devin Bush and Deontay, I guess we'll have to see how the other players play out in the later rounds.
I mean, you say the other players, Benny Snell came in and produced this year too.
True. And then you have Mark Barron, which could be, up in the air there, but still, I mean,
he came in and did his job this past year, man. He was top 3 on the team in tackles, I want to say. So,
but still, if you look at his career over, I think it was 2000 when we brought him in until now, you could go through the list of names. We got Hall of Famers, just nuts, man. Studs, Steeler lifers. Yeah. And then just as of late, I think,
too, man.
Just as of late over the past 3 drafts, we got some names. So, I mean, he's just done an excellent job, in my opinion. And what's crazy to me is I think he's, 62?
Yeah.
I can't believe that, man. That is crazy.
Man. Colbert's been doing it for a while, man. And the thing, too, with him, I mean, shout out to the fact he's a Pittsburgh guy, too, man. I think that's dope. And I think that's just something about the Steelers, man. You seen how it was with Cowher as well? Like, I always thought that was pretty cool, man.
I was reading an article that Colbert revitalized his career when he came in 2000. The way he was able to structure signings and talk to him about players, what he wanted for the team. Yeah. And those early 2000 teams were pretty dope.
So. Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, shoot, you even think about it to this day. I mean, like, Colbert, what he's been able to do in terms of the on-field product, It's insane. I mean, like you said, the list goes on and on of talented people. And I'm sure, I mean, you the graphics guy, man. You could like put up a little graphic with some of the just top guys that he's brought in, because this is what you do. You know what I mean? But like that's Colbert though, man. And for me, having an opportunity to play under him for 4 years, but then also develop a good relationship with him as well. I mean, he's just a genuinely good guy to be around. And I've been around some GMs where you just don't really like them. You don't really feel comfortable with them. It's not really a personal type relationship with these guys. That's not Colbert. Colbert is a guy, he's going to communicate with you. He's going to talk to you about more than just football. He's going to understand and want to hear about your personal life as well. And I think that that's something that doesn't get talked about enough with him. And I think that when we talk about the Steelers as a whole being just that family style that you always hear guys talk about, it's literally throughout the organization, because you're able to have these conversations with Kevin Colbert. Even to this day, I see Kevin Colbert anywhere, and we're having conversations about our families, kids, things like that. And I think that's just a unique dynamic about the Steelers, and in particular, him as well, and how he's able to be a part of that and buy into that and be comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. Because it's a unique situation to be in, where you have to toe that line of making it where you have a relationship with the player, but at the same time, making the tough decisions of, okay, do I re-sign this guy? Do I let this guy leave through free agency? Okay, I know he wants a 3-year, but do I only give him a 2-year? Like, you got to make some tough decisions at that spot. But I think that he's done just a phenomenal job in terms of maneuvering through all of those intricacies of that particular position and making it as successful as possible for all parties involved.
Well said, dude. Now, quick question though. Mm-hmm. Is there anything to read into with the 1-year extension lining up with Tomlin and Big Ben, do you think? Well,
the thing was, he's been doing this for the past 2 years now. 2 to 3 years now. I want to say he's been doing 1-year deals. Oh, so it was already,
I had no clue.
Yeah, so it was already the talk of, okay, because actually he did his before Tomlin signed his extension 2 years ago, I think it was, and right around the time when Ben was getting his deal done. So it was already looking like, man, could all three of these guys be leaving at the same time? And now the conversation is being had again. But Coach Tomlin was signing 2-year deals, and now he hasn't got his extension yet. And then for Colbert, he was obviously saying, I'm only doing 1-year deals. So yeah, it's a real potential that all three of those guys could be gone at the same time. And then you'd have the scramble of trying to find a franchise quarterback, trying to find a head coach, and trying to find a GM is real life. I mean, it was talks of whether Colbert would leave this year to go down with Tepperman in Carolina. Yeah. Like, that was a real conversation being had. So even then, it was like, hey, what's about to happen here? And it was still the potential that, oh, Ben could say, you know what, my elbow hurts, I'm done, I'm retired. And Tomlin could have done the same thing. It was still those type of conversations. Or it could play out how it played out, which we all love, which we're all happy about. The fact that all these guys are going to be together at least another year. I think that's huge, man. But that's just the nature of this game, man. When you're around,
would it be 2 years?
2 years what?
2 years? Or no, is it so the Colbert extension, it's just
it goes to 21.
Like the middle of 21, yeah, before the NFL draft. Like, okay, it's not the 21 season.
No.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, he's signing. He's literally doing 1-year extensions. That's what he was saying.
Got you. Yeah. But Ben's contract's next year and the year following, though, correct?
I want to say, because he did a 3-year.
Yeah. So it's next year. So it's the 21 season.
The 21 season, his last season.
Right. Yeah. So Colbert could be done before Ben's contract plays out.
The question was, even with Ben, though, even when he signed his deal, everybody was saying, is he really going to play the 3 years? Or is it going to be 2 years and be done? That's the question.
It is the question.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to see what he looks like coming back this year.
He told us on Christmas he's motivated for it, though.
Hey, man, a lot of people are motivated to play until you got to do it.
Dude, it's interesting. You think Tomlin would retire, though?
Well, even if he wasn't going to retire, and this is the thing, like,
maybe a year or two off.
Well, this is the thing. The conversation was, would Tomlin retire, or would he potentially have been fired? Because when he didn't get the extension, everybody was like, oh, does this mean that he has to prove himself this year? Does this mean that he's going to get fired if he doesn't have another winning season? Like, all those questions were surrounded it. So that's what we're talking about. I mean, shoot, and it's not, I mean, we understand the Steelers don't fire head coaches, and that's, an awesome thing that they stand by, but it's not as if successful coaches haven't been fired after a long tenure. You look Andy at McCarthy, you look at Andy Reid, you look at Ron Rivera. It happens. So it's just that all of them are aligning around the same time, which is why the conversations are being had of, okay, could literally all three of these guys be gone next year? And it's a real possibility. It is. You can't sit here and tell me right now if they were to win a Super Bowl next year.
I was the one that even brought this up. Now I'm trying to dude, nah.
Yeah, but this is something that I knew even with like the Steelers Nation Radio that we have to do a show on as well. Like this is a conversation that we've legit had in terms of if everything went great and they were to win a Super Bowl, do you think those three are coming back after that? Strong possibility it probably wouldn't be that way. Everybody leaves on a high note. And then you got the flip side of it. What if they absolutely were trash next year? Ben comes back, looks terrible. Coach T can't get the guys can't get them motivated the way they need to get motivated. Hey, it's still another possibility that all three of those guys could be like, hey, man, it's not working out.
I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, you brought it up.
But like I said, I brought it up just because that's what people are talking about a little bit.
Man, it's the truth.
You know how you have those eye emojis where it's like, look out. That's what people are kind of saying with these contracts.
Yeah, man. It's interesting, man.
I'm not worried about it right now.
Good. We got bigger fish to fry right now, man. In terms of February 21st, we need to see what this elbow talking about.
Man, it's coming up. It's coming up. Time's flying, dude.
Yeah, man. So that's the first thing we need to worry about. Then also there was another move by the Steelers, man. They hired a wide receivers coach, Bryan McClendon. He was most recently with the South Carolina Gamecocks. And the thing that I liked about this hire was, first off, this dude was an offensive coordinator and receivers coach at South Carolina. So when you look at some of the hires that Coach Tomlin has been doing in terms of bringing in guys for his staff on the offensive side of the ball, they have multiple guys that have coordinator experience. You talk about Matt Canada. This guy was OC at Pitt, had their most prolific season in terms of points per game with Nathan Peterman as the quarterback. Then, like you said, you're bringing in Bryan McClendon. He's another guy who was an OC at South Carolina. So the thing that we like about this, the reason that I like it is, you understand Randy Fichtner last year struggled being offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach. When you have to wear multiple hats, you're not able to fulfill all of the requirements or put all the time into just being a great offensive coordinator or being just a great quarterbacks coach. You have to flip-flop. You have to cut it half and half. And the difference on the defensive side of the ball was, even with Keith Butler being DC / outside linebackers coach, he had Mike Tomlin, who was a defensive-minded coach. They worked together in concert. So what Keith Butler couldn't fulfill, you already have Mike Tomlin fulfilling as well. So they work together great. Mike Tomlin wasn't an offense or isn't an offensive coach. So on the offense side of the ball, those guys are kind of just stuck. Yeah. So now you're going to have multiple guys with offensive coordinator experience to have conversations with Randy Fichtner. You're going to have guys who are dedicated solely to positions in terms of, you're the quarterback's coach, you're the wide receivers coach, this is the offensive line coach, I'm the coordinator. So now nobody has to do double, triple duty. So I do think all of those things help out a ton in terms of the development of that receiver room, because now you're going to have a guy who comes in with coordinator experience, who understands how offense works, who understands the bits and pieces, the intricacies of everything, but at the same time dedicated solely to the receivers room. You already talked about Matt Canada and what he brings to that quarterback room and helping develop the younger guys.
I ripped on him, man. Remember
you did, man. You did. But you do that a lot, and then you'll retract and come back and like, yo, actually, it's a great dude. It's a great hire. So I always take what you say with a grain of salt initially, because I know you got to go through your phase. That's how you do it. You're gonna throw up on it first, then you're gonna come back and you can be like, you know what? It wasn't as bad as I thought. Oh, actually, that was pretty good.
Well, I never said it was a bad hire. I just was like, I don't really care, because it's not gonna matter if Ben's not back. So people are all hype about it. I don't really. Yeah.
It matters a lot, man. It matters a lot.
Okay, I know, because you explained it to me, and I said, all right, thanks for explaining that.
Yeah, so this is definitely, I think, like I said, another good hire by Coach Tomlin. I think this is a good hire in terms of when we talk about organizationally. When you look around the league, a lot of teams have guys they're grooming to come over and take over the next OC spot or potentially be another head coach. Up until this year, the Steelers had one of the oldest coaching staffs in terms of assistant coaches, and none of them were ever, outside of Munchak a year ago, were ever in the conversation of, would this guy be a head coach?
Right.
So now seeing them bring in some of the young blood, bringing in guys who, I mean, they're getting their first NFL coaching experience on both sides of the ball. When you look at their assistant coaches, there are a lot of guys who Coach Tomlin gave them their first opportunity. So now you're going to get a chance to see some of these guys develop and potentially be like how the older staffs were, where it was Wisenhunt, where you had Marvin Lewis, where you had all these guys Arians, all these guys on a staff that after a couple of years are getting the call to be a head coach somewhere. That's ultimately what you want. You the same way you develop your players, you want to develop your coaching staff like that as well, because now you know you have high level quality coaches on your team. That ultimately helps your team be that much better. So for me, man, I like this hire a lot, man.
You know why I'm gonna say I like this. Got some big names coming out of Georgia because he was a running backs coach there, and then one receiver, and then there's another one coming up in the draft who had a really good career at South Carolina. So he was the running backs coach at Georgia, receiver coach, and offensive coordinator a little bit at South Carolina. At Georgia, the running backs were Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, and Isaiah Crowell, and then Deebo Samuel, obviously coming out of South Carolina, and then this dude Bryant Edwards coming out. I think he's going to be like a second or third round prospect. Yeah. So I can't really complain. Those are some big names, and he had something to do with it, and those dudes' success. So I like it. I like it.
Easy to please, Deke, man.
That's it. That's it.
Couple of names, all right. He's good to go in my book. I like it, bro.
That's it, man. And like you said, having a younger coach in him along with, what's Canada's age? He's young.
Sure, he's still young.
He's at least like 40, right?
Yeah, and this is his first NFL experience too. So when I say young, I'm not even thinking in terms of.
And this dude's
age.
35, 36.
Yeah, but like I said, first NFL opportunity to coach. Even last year with Eddie Faulkner, running backs coach, it was his first year. The same with Bradley, first year, first opportunities in the NFL. So that's the thing that I'm most excited about, getting some of these college coaches to the NFL, because we know the game is changing. We talk about how just the past 10 years, how drastically different games are played now. So I think it's important to bring in some of these younger, fresher minds to help you, to bring in fresh ideas, to understand, hey, this is how we operated at the collegiate level versus some of the schemes that you're seeing now. Lamar 100%. Jackson, what do they do in Baltimore? They run a college spread style offense. Well, this is how we can bat it. These are some of the things, these are some of the strengths of that. So I think all of those things factor in positively for the Steelers going forward.
No, I'm definitely good with it. You laid it out pretty good, and then he's got a good track record. So.
He got some names. That's all that matters, baby. We
exactly,
good.
Man. So
I like it, man.
There was one more thing that was to be brought up. We're talking about some of the Steeler moves. Obviously, Kevin Colbert being the GM. And there's been some buzz over the past weekend. Antonio Brown, former Steeler receiver, went on the Fan. What was it, Thursday morning or Friday morning?
Thursday morning, yeah.
And did a 20-minute interview. And there were some quotes that came out of that where it got me hyped up. It got Steeler Nation hyped up. It got them flipping their tune. Would you agree about things?
I saw 60-40, 70-30.
What do you mean? Like positive?
No, you said in terms of people flipping their tunes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said it's about 60-40, 70-30 from what I saw. In terms of like some people flip their tunes, it's like, yo, he's back, like love it, bring it in. And then others are like, nah, we've seen this before. We know what he's doing.
So the conversation is though now, I mean, you see the headlines everywhere. Should the Steelers bring Antonio Brown back? Should there be a reunion there? And then obviously, if you're going to do that, there's talk about Le'Veon Bell. Yeah. Why not bring all the killer bees back? So I'll let you start out because...
you brought it out. You started out, man.
What do you want me to talk about? Because you know I want them both back.
Okay. You can tell them why.
Tell them why? Yeah. So our offense could be lethal. Simple as that. There's some unfinished business. That's all.
Unfinished business. Oh, okay.
And there's talk with Le'Veon that he doesn't want to be back with the Jets. Gase doesn't want him back. He wants him traded. So it kind of makes sense. We've talked about that before. Hopefully they would take on some of his contract. Now the question is, because I was researching this, it can't really be that simple.
Right.
Because if they only took on his contract for this year, they wouldn't continue taking on his contract. Right. So then we'd have to pay him double digits the following years. So that would kind of make things a little messy with the cap situation. Now, with AB, I definitely want him back. It seems like he was very apologetic, and He even said at the end, he said, man, I don't have the quote on me, but something about...
Oh, no, yeah, I saw about the Steelers and like he wants to be back.
I would like to be
back or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that, and he was kind of talking about Ben, like, I love Ben. There was just some things that went on between us.
It's interesting.
What? What's so interesting? Anyway, so I don't know what it would take on both sides there, because there was a lot of stuff that happened within this past year.
Yeah, man.
In terms of people that he kind of took out. But there was one quote that I saw from someone. I think it was on Twitter. It was probably the most clever thing I heard all weekend. He said, "There's too many." I can't even get it out. It's so funny. It's so good. It's so good. He said, "There's too many bridges in Pittsburgh to burn them all."
Jeez. All right.
So I don't know what it would take. I really don't. I just want him back. And I know what you said about the situation, that you'd prefer AB to get right, just in general, outside of football, which I want to. But hey, if you can have both go on at the same time, why not?
All right. And what about Juju?
Juju? What do you mean?
I mean, you saw his comments about Juju as well, right?
Well, I told you, I think that was tough love, maybe. Just like, hey, man.
Tough love.
You could step it up a little bit, that's all.
But how could it be tough love if it's not coming from a place of love?
You don't think?
What would make you think it was?
Just because there was some tweet that was sent out maybe a week prior to this interview that he was talking about making amends or saying like it was all love, bro. Like he sent a picture.
He definitely did say it was all love, bro.
He said all love, something like that.
No,
he said all love.
No, and it was the picture with him and Juju and James Conner hugging. The picture that he doesn't even tag Juju in, and then Juju responds and says, "Well, if it's like that, unblock me." If it's all love, why is my man still blocked? If it's all love, why he tag him? Just a question.
It's a good question.
If it's all love, why do you say in the interview, y'all hyping up Juju, he get 500 yards, y'all act like he all world? Does that sound like that's tough love? Does that sound like that's coming from a place of love? Then he took a shot at your boy Hines too. You know your boy Hines Ward.
I didn't hear the Hines one.
Oh, he's like, man, Hines never treated me with respect. Hines never showed me the way to be a professional. Hines never did this for me. He went down a whole list of what Hines did not do for him and why Hines didn't respect him and why Hines didn't help him be a professional, and Hines never took him under his wing to teach him anything. He had to figure it out on his own.
Ah, man, dude. See,
that was on the same interview, man.
I only saw a couple tweets.
You saw what you wanted to see, man. You saw what you wanted to see.
I only saw a couple sound bites.
You saw what you wanted to see, man.
That is true. Yeah. Because if we're being real, it's very doubtful. At least AB, the Bell thing.
I think Bell that could definitely happen.
I
think that's just the conversation of money wise. And for me, I would be all for it. And having conversations with James Conner throughout the season last year, because around the trade deadline, that was a conversation as well.
It was.
The Steelers potentially trading for Le'Veon, and had the opportunity to talk to him on one of the radio shows I do and asked him, like, yo, how would you feel if Le'Veon were to return? And he said, man, I would love it because, number one, he's still good friends with Le'Veon. But number two, he said, man, the fact that both of them could be in that backfield together, that makes that offense that much more dangerous, that much more dynamic. Honestly, having both of them back will remind me of when I first signed with the Steelers and we had L. Bell and LeGarrette Blount. It was supposed to be those two guys as the guys. And then obviously L. Bell started to take off and got crazy. So then from there, LeGarrette's role got reduced, and then he just didn't like that, and then did what he did. And from there, it worked out for him because he ended up getting 2 rings back-to-back years. But I do think that, man, it could potentially work out, especially because from a money structure, if they could figure out how to handle that contract between them and the Jets, with James still being on his rookie deal, it's still going to be too much money tied up in that room. And those guys could both be a lot more productive, I think, together. Because from a wear and tear standpoint, you don't have to deal with it. L. Bell, you already know he can play a ton of snaps. He's durable as heck. But with James, I think the reduction in terms of the amount of plays that he's playing, the amount of hit he's taking, could ultimately lead to more productivity for him. So I do think that could definitely work. And the whole time when Le'Veon left, he never had hard feelings with anyone. Now, granted, I wasn't a fan of when some of the players were making comments on his money situation. But for Le'Veon, he never said anything personally. He said for him, him and Ben obviously butted heads a little bit, which is normal anytime you got multiple alphas on one team and you want to be the star, the face of the franchise. You're going to have that struggle of power. That happens. But other than that, he never said anything crazy or out the way. Even when he signed with the Jets, he only had positive things to say about the organization. So for him, it will be a seamless return in terms of fans, in terms of players, in terms of organization. Now, when you talk about AB coming back, number one, him and Ben, regardless of what he says, until I hear from Ben, until I see that dynamic, I don't believe it, just because of how everything transpired when he left. You already know he has the comments that he was making about Mr. Rooney. That's still going to have to be amended. Now, granted, Mr. Rooney, he's super chill. He's not going to like hold a grudge in that regard. But that's still going to be a conversation that's going to be had, because to come back, you got to sign for a contract. And to sign for a contract, it's going to be the conversation about money. And we all know how those negotiations go. It's always interesting. Then you add in the fact with Juju and the things that he's been saying about Juju continually, that's going to be an issue, because Juju's a guy that the Steelers are probably going to re-sign because they like him long-term, whereas AB, at best, you're hoping 2 to 3 more years, at best. So that's another issue you're going to have, man. And then not to mention anybody that's friends with Juju that might feel some type of way about the things that AB said. So you still have all those. And I know the thing is, oh, man, he's so productive. He's so this, he's that. We've seen productive receivers before that, regardless of what they can do, if the situation isn't right, if the chemistry isn't right, it doesn't matter. And we've seen that multiple times. And that, like I said, that's just from a talent standpoint. But for me, my biggest thing in terms of why I wouldn't want him back is I just personally think, and not just here in Pittsburgh, I think him coming back to the league, it resets the cycle of what we talked about in terms of if you're dealing with personal issues, if you're dealing with struggles in terms of anger management, in terms of how you handle your emotions, things like that, right? Just because you get to the NFL, it doesn't mean it goes away. In fact, it's the opposite. It gets intensified because the money, because the success that you're able to have on the field, you get a pass in a lot of situations. We talked about that as well. So meaning, hey, man, if you're a regular person and you get in trouble, hey, man, your job is going to reprimand you. They're going to talk to you. If you got in trouble with the law, you're going to get arrested more than likely. You're going to have things like that transpire. Whereas when you're an NFL player, we saw the video of how he talked to the cops. We saw the video of how he was talking to his baby mother during that situation. If that's any other person, we know how that ends. We've seen people get arrested in some situations, killed for a lot less. So understanding that, hey, man, to bring him back in the NFL so soon, it resets that whole cycle for him. And then any growth that he's had over these past, 2 weeks, because it's not as if we've seen 6-7 months of this. Literally, this is 2 weeks. He just got released from jail, and he went on this like media campaign of I'm a different guy, I'm changed. So if you want to believe after 2 weeks and just erase this, kind of like your games, right? You don't care what you've done the first 3.5 quarters, whatever you do in the last 2 minutes dictates if you're a good quarterback or not. So essentially, this is what's happening right now. Forget what he's done through all the past 12 months. What has he done the past 2 weeks? Oh, man, he's one of these radio shows. He said these things. He put out a couple of tweets. We got to just roll with that. But for me, I don't think that the growth will sustain if you just bring him right back. I do think he needs to have time to really sit and really have to get help and help himself be a better person. We look at guys who haven't had those opportunities, or guys who did get to sit a little bit, and how they still were affected. Now, granted, they were dealing with addiction. I'm talking Justin Blackman. I'm talking Josh Gordon, guys like that. But when you bring a guy back into that NFL spotlight, it changes some people, man. And I don't even want to say it changes them, but it puts a spotlight on who they truly are. And that's the one thing that I'm mostly concerned about for AB in terms of just overall health. If you bring him back, what you going to restart going back into? Because what happens as soon as he catches a touchdown? Oh, it's all cheers. AB, you're the man. You're great. Don't worry about anything, man. We love you. And then it just keeps going. It keeps going. And then the first time an issue comes up, hey, as long as you balling out, you good. We saw that, man, with the speeding ticket, the 90 going 90 down McKnight. He comes back, hey, as long as you balling out, hey, we're going to watch that on the rug. Don't worry about that. I know you said you care about both and you want to have both. I just personally don't think you can have both in this situation.
Understandable, considering you just listed off about 4 or 5 things that would need to be taken care of, which considering everything that has happened in the past, could he take care of that?
Man.
You know,
and he's still dealing with the legal stuff right now. I mean, he just got well, I guess he lost in a civil suit about the apartment that he trashed when he was throwing the furniture off the balcony. He trashed the apartment, so he lost that. So he's gonna have to pay money for that. He still obviously has this case that he's dealing with the moving company, and then he still has the sexual assault allegations. That case still coming up as well. So he still has multiple things that has to go right for him to even get back in that conversation. And that's still operating under the impression that when he does, if he were to get all those things cleared, that Roger Goodell wouldn't put him on a list or suspend him or anything as well. So it's a lot of factors that have to go into it, man. No,
you're right, 100%. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just me being naive, but because it has happened throughout this whole process, because something happens and then a couple weeks later it's chill and you're like, all right, you know, could AB come back?
It's turning a new leaf.
Yeah, and then I don't know, I guess with this, especially with the interviews now, to be hearing those words coming out of his mouth of, man, I love Pittsburgh. Like, I'd want to be back, you know, let's run it back. And the ESPN interview, I don't know, dude. Maybe I just fall for this stuff. I don't know.
It's, you know, it happens, man. And you know what you're kind of like?
What?
You're kind of like the ex-girlfriend. the guy he cheated on you a couple times to hurt your little heart. And then he comes back and he's like,
this sounds way worse.
He comes back and he's like, yo, you kind of pretty, man. You look good today, girl. You know I miss you, right? Did I tell you, man, like, we can never, like, what we have, nah, man, it don't matter what's happened before. Love always wins. And you're like, dang, you right. This is different.
The thing with me, though, I wasn't like really that offended when he was saying all this stuff before.
Because you're like the girlfriend. The girlfriend's like, yo, man. It's like, yo, I can't stand you. Yeah, that's my girlfriend over. Yeah, I'm cheating on you. So what? And you're like, it ain't that bad. He gonna come right back. You just borrowing him. He really mine. That's what you are right now, man.
Well, when he went to the Raiders.
Oh, and when he proceeds to talk bad about Ben, talk bad about Mr. Rooney, talk bad about Juju. You're like, oh, it ain't that bad. It's all right. It's all right. He don't really mean that. He don't really mean that. He all right. He still love me, girl.
I don't know if I was like that.
You were. You just said you weren't even offended. You said it wasn't even that bad.
No, I wasn't offended, but I was thinking, hey, man, like that's a bad look. Like,
you just changed your tone.
No, that's a difference between being offended and saying like, AB, man, like, yeah, it's whatever. I mean, if you wanted to come back to the Steelers, it's fine, but there's some repairs you'd have to make. That's all.
Whatever, man.
That's all. It's not the best look, dude. Especially for like your professional career, it's not a good look.
You weren't caring about none of that. We had this conversation. You were not caring about none of that.
I mean, I was wearing an AB jersey.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You didn't care. You did not care about any of that. So don't try to sit up here and change the tune up. Oh man, that's a bad look. You were the whole time, and then it was, oh, this happens. Oh man, all right. Reunion note. Hashtag the return. Let me just put this on social media real quick, see what anyone said. All right, let me take it down real quick. All right, I'm gonna put it back up here. All right. Like, stop it, man. You said, man, you're the ex, bro. It's cool.
Oh man,
you're the ex. Wow. The naive, just he still loves me. It's okay. I know he cheated on me 5 times. I know he calls me names. I know he never buys me nothing for Christmas, Valentine's Day, or my birthday. He forgets our anniversary every year, but he still loves me. He's so cute. It's cool, bro.
Could these current receivers step up, though? That's the question.
Hey, man.
So I can forget about the ex.
Hey, man. Hey. Do what you need to do, man. Do what you need to do.
Man, dude. It's just hoping. It, like, in reality, it's probably doubtful, but considering everything that you said and everything that I've tried to shut out of my mind, so it's just yeah.
That's for me. If he could get everything in order and at least go 6 months,
and that's what you're hoping for, I guess. Whenever you see those quotes as a fan, you're just like, man, could it happen? Yeah. And it's almost like I said, with the unfinished business, right. It was so great what we had, the Steelers, him, what the offense could be with defense. It's just like, man. So if both could happen, where he's getting right,
and then you bring back Ty Haley, right?
Nah.
Well, they didn't do it under anybody under Haley. So what do you mean?
The offense. What do you mean?
What?
The offense was good 2 years ago.
The offense was never as productive as it was without Haley there.
5,000 yards for Ben.
League in the interceptions for Ben.
I mean, this is...
Stop it.
We always bring... This is brought up every podcast, I think.
Stop it. Because you'll casually just throw the 5,000 and leave on everything else.
A lot of touchdowns.
A lot of attempts.
3 or 4 in QBR.
Hey, like I said, man. The numbers are there. But you know what? So, QBR, man, Dak Prescott, he's up there too.
What's interesting, though, is
Dak and Ben are about the same, right?
You sound a little hopeful.
Oh, now you don't want to talk about it. Dak and Ben.
No, I'm just saying.
Guys.
I'm going back. I'm going back to what you said.
You said QBR,
You said
Dak
like 6 months.
Dak and Ben are about the same, right? QBR. You said QBR, bro. That's cool.
There's eye test. There's a lot of other things.
Oh, no. It's
there's winning Super Bowls.
Oh, whatever.
There's a lot of things.
Hey, man, both of them got the same amount of Super Bowl MVPs.
Wow.
Just saying, bro.
Wow.
Just saying. But anywho, when I say 6 months, I'm saying in 6 months, if he can prove that he is still on this road to recovery and is actually a good dude and is actually taking steps to make himself a better person, I don't care who he comes back to. For sure, give him an opportunity to earn. No different than when Mike Vick, when he went to prison for the thing was going on with the dogs. Like, once you serve your time and you come back and you've proven that you have changed the course of your life, you've changed the course of how you think, well, then absolutely give him another opportunity, because I truly believe you can't hold a grudge and just say, hey, man, I'm forever mad with this person. Or I'm forever like this guy can never get a chance to earn and make a living. No, I don't think that's right. And that's the beauty of America. You get the opportunity to prove yourself, to redeem yourself. But it's not a 2-week thing.
Yeah.
2 weeks is fast. We've seen 2 weeks. We could do Fabian in 2 weeks. We've seen this.
Yeah.
So why all of a sudden is this time different? He was just in jail. He was just in jail for an incident that transpired 1 week after what happened with the police. Think about that.
Yep.
And even with the police thing, people were still like, oh, man, we could bring him back. So just imagine. That's all I'm saying. I don't care where he would go after that, but let me at least see that this is for real.
6 months.
Show me 6 months. Okay. 6 months. I'm not even asking for a full year. I'm not even going to go there. Just 6 months.
Okay.
Because clearly he hasn't done that.
I think that's a good happy medium.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And that's because I still like him. Because, like I said, we're teammates 4 years. Like, I still am biased towards him.
Yeah.
If it's anybody else, I'm like, bro, man, at least a year. I don't want to even see it. At least a year.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yo, this was my guy. Like, we ball. Like, yo, it's different when you a teammate to a dude, man.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like 6 months. Like, I'll even cut it down to 6 months for him. If he could do that, that's different.
Just hoping. Now, I don't know what the hell's going on in terms of that fight he's doing with Logan Paul. I don't know. Dude.
Shout out to the diss track.
Dude, no, he's a joke, man.
Oh, now you mad because he dissed your boy?
Nah, it's just that
he dissed your boy.
No, I'm more or less wondering.
They both rappers, right? What a rebuttal, like what a diss track, AB. We trying to see what that's talking about.
I mean, I guess I'm just pleading for AB just to disassociate from this dude. That's all.
At least it's a legal activity.
It is, yeah.
It won't get criminal.
Yeah, I mean,
make him a little bit of money.
It could, yeah. But I'm assuming if he makes it back to the league before then, that they're not going to have anything with it.
I don't know. He probably, depending on what the market looks like for him, he might make more money doing that fight than the NFL. Just being real about it, man.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm just being selfish.
Yeah. We saw the numbers. Hey, you're hoping and wishing that the market's still like that for him, but all this transpired, it might not be there.
Man, it's just crazy how things have gone this past year and a half with him.
It's okay, man. He still loves you.
You're funny.
He still loves you, bro.
You're funny, man.
It's okay. It's like, just keep holding that teddy bear that he got you that one time.
Come on, dude.
It was so good.
Come on, man.
Hey, buddy.
I can't believe you're putting it like that.
That's what it is, bro.
I don't see it like that.
Of course you don't. The exes never see it like, he didn't really mean that. No, I know I saw that, and that, but they weren't that bad. No. Okay. That's cool.
I think we're on the same page, though. We both take them back. You said 6 months, though.
I said no. This is the difference. You're saying you would solely want him back in Pittsburgh. I'm saying 6 months. I don't mind him getting employed. Difference.
Okay. And Pittsburgh, you would have to consider a lot of things.
Absolutely.
That you mentioned. I
feel like it's way more.
But then money as well.
But yeah, it's way more that I think down the line for Pittsburgh. I'm just saying in 6 months, I wouldn't mind him being back in the league if he can be clean for 6 months. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're saying I want him back in Pittsburgh. That's the difference in the conversation.
Yeah. Well, I think all that stuff would have to happen to some degree, though.
I don't think so. Not for him to just, when I say 6 months, just don't say nothing on social media for 6 months.
No. I'm saying the things that he would have to amend in Pittsburgh.
See, I don't think he has to do those things to come back to just the league, though.
No, right, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
That's what I'm saying.
So it might be easier for him
to get back in the league.
Just the league.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. Because you got teams that are going to be super desperate. Teams that haven't had a lot of success. They're desperate.
Like I said, dude, in reality, it's pretty doubtful. But we mentioned the Bell thing. Way more possible. The thing with AB, I guess it's just something to speculate about. Yeah. That's all.
This will be interesting, man. We'll see.
It's the off season, man. That's where all the speculation happens. You just pulled up something about all these.
Hey, man.
People saying.
We'll get to it.
I know. That's what I mean. It's speculation time. That's all.
We'll get to it, man. But, oh, man, this was good, though, man. This is a fun convo, man.
Dude, how long do you think this thing was?
It was long enough. The listeners will like it.
No, I know. I'm saying I'm surprised. I think because we just like 3 or 4 random topics, and we talked about them pretty good.
Well, for me, I already know like we don't need more than 3 topics. You like to get long-winded sometimes, man. I'm like, give us 2 topics and we'll be completely fine. Yeah. You over here like, yo, we need to have this, and what about that, and what about this time? I'm like, bro, we'll be here for 3 hours. Yeah. 2 topics, 3 at best, because I know it's gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it was good.
Yeah, man. So
appreciate it.
It was a ton of fun, man. Appreciate everybody for tuning in as well, man.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Peace.